Hello, everybody out there. I'm intuitive coach Kevin. I'm here with amazing channel Magdalena Lyle, and this is our first attempt at a podcast. We have been guided by Magdalena's guides through some conversation that we really both will evolve uh, ourselves and be able to help the channeling community and those intuitives out there who are looking to do what we're doing and co-create with us to help that community to grow from our experience, from the what we've been through as coach and channel, and also Magdalena being a powerful channel will undoubtedly is going to drop into channeling as the guides want to jump in and correct our mistakes or just share their wisdom. They never correct you. And so we're just going to kind of dive into this. That is basically the reason we're doing this. We want the community of channels to be able to feel comfortable stepping into their gifts and with the confidence that is available, and to perfect and refine their abilities so that they can then feel confident in offering them out to the world. It's our way of sort of perpetuating the energy flowing downhill as to those who are ready, and there's millions and millions and millions waking up and they're looking for the support of the channel and the coach and so forth. And so there isn't a better time on this planet to be doing what we're all doing here together. So that's my little intro. Anything you want to add to that, Magdalena?
Yes, yeah, it is amazing how many souls are waking up, and um, I'm guided to definitely support this podcast because I feel there is so many out there that has these gifts and that really need to be held with their hand held, with some sort of support. And I think
Sources.
this is a great platform. So what I do, I am a channeler and I do therapy at the end. So what that means is that I give a message from my guides, and sometimes it's hard for the channel to embody it and to really take in that message so that they're living it, they're truly believing and in capturing that message so that they can move forward in their life, in their business. And that therapy just is the cream on the cake, is what I say.
Mm, mm.
So that's how I've combined it. And I trust me, it's taken a long time and a lot of time with you, Kevin, to really put that together, and a lot of wisdom from my guides to support that amazing blend.
Well, and that's a point I do want to touch on, which you just said about the blend. There oftentimes, and just to be clear with everyone who doesn't know us, I'm an intuitive coach, and my passion and job and pleasure is about helping the intuitive community like Magdalena, and that's how we came together. And we'll talk about in a second how this has unfolded so beautifully. But the idea that you need to be labeled something, a channel or a medium or a hypnotherapist, and I've had uh, an earlier clients say, will come and say, well, I do like three different things, and I blend them. Like, what do I call myself? And I say, it doesn't matter. Call yourself Susan. You know, what's going to attract the people to you is your vibration and your alignment with who you really are. You don't need to figure out what the right label is and market yourself and figure out where your audience is. The universe already knows. But you do have to learn to be true to yourself and truly allow the frequency of who you are to flow through. And then you become this bright light. So I love that Magdalena and I, when we started, she was just doing the channeling in our sessions. And then she has a number of other talents that she's done for work. But now she's naturally integrated the ACH therapy sessions at the end of the channeling because it felt like the next evolution for her to become, this more whole integrated being who now lights up even more by doing it that way. And it may change in the future. Does that
Yeah.
sound accurate?
No, that's absolutely accurate. But it sounds all really good. And this is part of the main reason for Kevin and I to get together. It didn't happen overnight. it took a long time for me to really understand what all those gifts meant and how to incorporate it, because there was a lot of doubt. There was a lot of misunderstanding of, well, why am I doing it? Why am I having this if I'm not utilizing one or the other? So I kind of think any support that we can give with both of our knowledge, with both of our experiences. Um, and I'm sure there's even more things that we don't know, but we can certainly learn from each other and our audience.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel this is the calling.
Yes. And this is also our own personal evolutions running in parallel. That I started doing these Facebook Live videos only month ago, a little over a month ago, I think. And I've done lots and lots of Zoom sessions, private sessions, but never just raw live. I got an impulse to talk about something, turn the camera on. That I've never done that, and that was a lump in your throat kind of moment at first, but I found very quickly it was the next step of my calling, and very important for me to be able to express myself in the ways that come through it purely to me. And so this now doing this podcast is an evolution of that for me, because even though these are recorded right now, we're expecting that at some point they will go live so we can have live interaction with the people who are
Yeah,
that we're trying to reach, so that there can be live Q&A and live even channeling back and forth if necessary. And
yeah,
so you just basically said the same thing. You're on the same path as you're integrating and bringing refining who you are, and this is your next step in sharing your message of channeling to the world and how you integrate it.
yes, exactly. And I would like to just say, on top of everything that was said, is everyone has different ways of channeling, as Kevin would know through his clients. So I just wanted to preempt, me swaying is about my energy being here. So if you might have or different channels, I'm sure you've experienced this before, Kevin. People have different ways of coming in and going out of channeling. Is that right? Like,
They're all
what have
different.
you?
No two people
Yeah.
do it the same way, in my
Mm,
experience. Yeah. And some people, they it's a switch goes on and it's a second or 2 seconds, and other people, like my friend Daniel Scranton, who channels a dozen or more beings, he takes up to 3 minutes of toning and sounds and moving his arms. So there's everywhere in between. So as you say,
right.
it's a really personal journey. And I think one of the messages we're going to end up saying over and over again is be yourself, find your own path, and be okay
Yes,
with it being that.
absolutely. And do you think, and me following my path, because I can just talk about my experience, and when you hear more about Kevin's, he has a different way of channeling, as we said. So how I when I first started, it was just breathing into it, and I was doing a lot of writing, automatic writing. And that led to me doing verbal. But I guess what I wanted really try and say, first of all, is you've got to start within, as you said, Kevin. Go within, know that you are true love. You are going to bring in whoever, whatever energy, whatever vibration needs to come in for you. And you don't need to label them straight away.
Or
Everyone wants
ever.
to label them. Yeah, or ever. Exactly. Exactly.
That was one of the big
So,
things, that there was a switch as I got started with the working with channeling clients. And I got specific in 2019, I think, is when I realized I didn't want to coach just anybody or even just intuitive community. I really wanted to narrow down. And that's when I got focused. And in the early days, every being that came through had a name. And now there've been a number of people, including with your guides, they're just the guides. They basically say, the name was just for the human. We don't have names up here because we're
yeah.
intimately connected. But then Albatron comes through, which is another one of the beings you channel, and Albatron's more in the ET nature, so he's more physical in nature, and so they're more named, but it's really arbitrary. Whatever feels right to you is what
Yes.
you're saying, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And I really love the way you channel as well. You do come through in your channel when you do sessions, don't you?
Yeah, that's. I guess we can talk about that for a second. So I never looked at myself as being a channel. That was I never wanted to be a trance channel like Esther Hicks, even though I've been been through probably 1,000 hours of listening to their materials over the years since we started in 2008. And I love the idea of getting messages and answers and the beautiful feeling of alignment and the energy flow and so forth. But I never wanted to be the one who disconnected completely and just allowed source to flow through me. It just didn't feel right. So I never called myself that up until maybe um, within a year or so when I've been doing the guided meditations in our weekly Lightworker Exchange group. And that's a group we have, a private group we have on Facebook that anybody can join. You just have to answer a few questions. And we have these weekly meetings. And at the beginning of the meeting, then I do a guided meditation. And the only reason I even started doing those was because back when it was a meetup group here in the Detroit area where we live, the person who was doing them in the meetup group left. And so I knew I wanted to start the meeting with a calming energy. And so I just started playing back ones I had heard back in my days when I had hypnotherapy, when I had the brain tumor, which maybe we'll talk about someday. And then when we went into Facebook, it's like I had to keep doing it. And what I realized along the way was, and that was in COVID times, was that the more I tried to plan it out, the less I could get into this gentle, relaxed feeling state. And the best stuff came through when I did that. So I have a few sentences which I can sometimes use to get started, but now I trust that if I just be quiet and breathe and then kind of feel into the energy of the group, I can feel where the conversation needs to go.
Mm.
And I'm it's taken a while to practice to really get into the place where I can completely trust that when I start talking and I close my eyes, that I'll start to get that guidance. And that is, I didn't want to call it channeling, but the guides have told me many times, yeah, you're can't deny it. You're
You
channeling.
were resisting it. Yeah,
I was
exactly.
resisting the label. And the same thing as you said, when I'm coaching, and long ago, I didn't really realize it until as of late that when I'm really connected in a coaching session and I'm holding space, I mean, we are vibrationally connected in that moment. And I realized I was actually getting the questions to ask and the impulses to reflect on something from the client's inner
Mm.
being. I'm not
Yeah,
making that stuff up. I don't know where to get it. Just suddenly I'll get the right question to ask and it may come out of left field. And that again is another form of channeling. It's just not the traditional trance, closed eyes, verbal channel. Channeling is being open to source and it can come through in art or in music or dance or engineering.
exactly.
It's just the connection. How it expresses is up to the individual.
I agree. And even like, the artists that write music, they're channeling in an athlete that channels in. I don't think I really don't think that people are aware that they're channeling. Everyone's doing it.
Yeah, everyone's doing it.
I mean, everyone's doing it. It's just I don't think they know that they are doing it.
Yeah. Well, I
And
believe that this is the evolution into the direct connection, the verbal trance channel or not trance channel, but the verbal connection where your mind goes off to the side and you speak the words of source. I think that is a little more recent in terms of our society. I think that manifestation isn't as well known, or maybe even still a little
no, you're
woo
right.
woo.
Yeah, it is. And do you feel like I'd like to ask you a question? I feel there is like a lot of channelers opening up.
Yes. Oh, yes, yes.
And the
There.
awareness is becoming going to be the norm. I kind of think it's going to be the norm soon.
Yes, and I think in some circles it already is. I think about the friends I have on Facebook and how many thousand friends, and I'm very selective. I don't let anybody in unless I look at their profile and I feel their energy, and I realize that how many friends I have who all speak the same language, whether or not they're actually in business being a channel. Uh, Many of them talk about messages that they receive or guidance that they get, and or that they're putting messages out for other people, and so all these different manifestations, but it's the same thing. And when I come across somebody who thinks this is weird, I think that's weird.
Yeah, yeah,
What do you
exactly.
mean?
Why
You
don't
don't.
you know what channeling?
And it makes family holidays interesting at times because I have to keep my mouth
Yeah.
shut.
Yeah. So here, so the I kind of feel sometimes the last people to really accept the channeling, and I've got to say, in my instance, is family.
Yeah, I think it's normal because they're the ones who have known you the way you were longest.
Mm,
Now
yeah,
here suddenly there's this other side coming out that was always there at some level, and you probably kept it to yourself or it manifested quietly. But now it's like it can't be hidden anymore. So they got to adapt.
yeah,
We're not going back.
exactly. That's right. I want my old mum back, please. I did say, I did say to my son once, my eldest son, I said, "Oh, do you want? Would you like to have a channeling session?" No, I don't want to talk to dead people. So I
Someday.
guess it's that. So yeah, and sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. But what do you feel the connotations of what channeling is?
The
What
essence of
is
what it is?
really channeling? Mm,
Oh, it's well, to me that's simple. It's the opening up of the channel of the connection that we have to broader non-physical consciousness. My view has really simplified as over the years of listening to channels, talking with channels, and so forth, that at the start of the day, we are one ocean of consciousness. We are source energy. And there's nothing outside of that. Everything is within that context. And then as source over time wanted to explore and get to know itself and expand more, I like to say we are the universe getting to know itself better. We fractured off into streams. And so the streams have individual perspectives and for exploration, but there's never a disconnect from source. So whatever experiences the streams, individual streams are having, that knowledge becomes part of source and source expands through every single experience of all source. And at some point, the fragmenting continues and streams tap off of streams, and then we get to soul that's above us, so to speak. There's no above, but the one that is our source. And then lastly, there's the stream into the physical body. So the
mm,
perspective continues to narrow and focus and narrow and focus. And focusing has the advantage of shutting out the noise from the outside and the knowledge, even that we are source, forgetting even who we are, so that we can intensely concentrate on experiences here in physical form. And in the going into the negative, then we have to find our way out. And in the doing so, we expand and we grow and we learn new things and we become more. And thus, because we're all still connected, the entire universe learns from all of our experiences, even the ones we don't like. There's still something that came out of it, a new perspective that comes out. And then moving forward, the intuition that we get when we open up to that same channel that we're talking about comes from the new awareness of all the beings
yes.
everywhere. So we're checking books into the library as we're
Yeah.
going through life, and then we can pull them out from any other place as we open ourselves up. So to me, channeling is
Yes.
just how open that valve is to the non-physical aspect versus the human aspect. We got two consciousnesses. One is what develops as the human when we're born and goes away when we die. But the experience and who we really are is what's flowing through the channel. It's just how much the valve is open or closed. And that's what a
Yeah.
lot of what we'll talk about will contain. How do you open the channel and relax and allow that energy to come in and not be dominated or distracted by the human brain?
Yes. And is that, and for me, in my experience, I felt that was the biggest thing for me, is because when it came in, when I first verbally channeled, I had this whoosh of just a beautiful energy. And it was, we talked about this before, what unconditional love was, but it was an energy that was just undescribable, immense, pure flow of non-judgment, nothing. It was just pure love. That's how I could describe it. And as soon as I felt that, that moment was, I'm ready. Like I was able to, you know, talk and be verbal after my automatic writing. So I guess this is also to help those. channelers to understand what that allen that the alignment is, and as you say, to open up the valve to really trust in it and let that flow. Because when we talk about trust, it's easy to say, but hard to do.
Yes, there's many techniques, and there's the blocks that I'm still experiencing that prevent me from opening up more. And you can't rush that. It's sort of like the life journey. We're
Mm,
born in pure positive energy. We have very little thought, and it's positive because we have no life experience to bring us out of that. But then you're acclimated to the environment which you chose before coming into that body, so you could have the negative experience. And then the separation begins. The valve starts to close because the brain gets louder. And it's usually because it's lower frequency fear and so forth. And so at some point, and they call it the midlife crisis, for a lot of people, the midlife crisis is I can't keep going in this negative direction and pinching off my guidance because at some point I have no guidance, and that's when people need drugs or alcohol or coping mechanisms because they have no clarity because they,
mm,
without realizing it, have shut off their own valve. And so something needs to break. And in my case, it was a brain tumor and back in 2008. Other people get other kinds of diseases, or they have a relationship that long-term relationship breaks up, or they have a financial collapse, or something. The negative energy grows to be so large that at some point it gets above the threshold of their suppression because we all stuff things down, and then they make a change. And in that moment, then they got to try something new. And oh, this feels good.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
the breadcrumbs start to unfold in that way because law of attraction just attracts what you're focusing on. When you break that valve open again, and like you said, once you've felt that completely wide open valve where you've surrendered the brain completely in that moment, like there's no going back. Even if you can't get to there, in the next moment or the next day or week, you've been there.
yeah. Exactly, exactly. And even though I had a lot of time, and this is probably for good for other channelers to know that you do it and then it happens for you're quite consistent with it, and then life happens and you drop it off, or you don't, or that confidence diminishes, and so you just don't do it for a long time. It's never gone. Like once the valve's open, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
you've
some channels
tasted it.
think, "Oh, I've lost it."
It's like tasting decadent chocolate for the first time. It's like, I'm going to have more of that at some point in my life,
Yeah.
no
Exactly.
matter how long it takes.
That's right, exactly.
So when you got started, when did you say you had that first awareness of what it feels like to connect to source?
When did I,
Like, did it go back to child? Some people say I was born with it. I always knew it, and other people they discovered it at some point.
oh my gosh, I definitely, like you, I had no idea what channeling was. I didn't haven't heard of the word. I didn't It was so far removed from my whole thought process. My sister is definitely a psychic, but I thought, that's her gig. And what happened was Sarah Landon's name popped up on a friend's feed, and boom, that just resonated with me for some reason. I don't understand why her name just resonated with me. So I jumped on a course that she was doing, and I felt good. I felt at home. I was excited, and I just, your body reacts because, like, do more of it. And I resonated it with so much. So that's how I really started the channeling. Um, but I've got to say to you, it was never part of my what I wanted to do or
It
where I
wasn't in
wanted
the
to be.
plan.
It wasn't in my plan at all. And so, like yours. And so when I did start opening up, as I said, I did automatic writing, and it really happened super quick. So I'm thinking, I know that the people that are watching already know that we already have a predestined plan from the time before physical form, that we chose what we wanted to choose when we wanted to choose it, because so many synchronicities. just came up, just happened. And I just followed those breadcrumbs, sometimes resistantly, and sometimes I didn't. And then it would draw me back. But to just because there's so much to say, it's the beginning that's really hard for channelers, I think. And in my experience, it was because I didn't know what I was doing, whether it was real. Um, Comparing to other people, comparing even to Sarah, comparing to now other amazing channelers. Um, and then you start doubting the messages. Oh, because they said that. Am I just repeating what they said? You know,
Yeah, is it
is
really
that
me or is it
sometimes,
coming from somewhere else?
yeah.
How long ago did you start with Sarah?
I think I did her course back in February last
Okay.
year.
And this is 2023. So February of 2023, and it is now the very end of December 2023. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So that was very quick in terms of that door opening. And then you and I connected 2 months later, I think. And we just say it was like April 6th or something.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
So
right.
so that
That's
see
right.
that seems like a great example of what you were just saying. You got the taste of it, and as you stepped forward into it without knowing where you were going, but followed the breadcrumbs, the universe just lined the pieces up for us to connect. And it was through another channel that I had been working with who was also in Sarah's group. She
Right.
connected us together. So but neither one of us could have planned any of that. It's just you just showed
No,
up.
I just showed up and I said, "What?" That's intuitive coach was exactly what I needed at that point of time. And because you helped the other channeler, I wanted a bit of that. I wanted to know where I am. Like, what am I meant to do with it? If I'm meant to do anything, and is it a like you've always said in our sessions? Do you need to know? And and I did think I needed to know, but it's hard to explain, probably, Kevin. What you thought you needed to know, you didn't need to know because my whole life was on a different tangent. And my human mind said, "Oh, I've got to work, I've got to get a job, I've got to do this and create this, and that." And what's happened, it's manifested itself that I don't need any of that. And it's come back full circle to where I am right now again with you.
But with more
So
awareness, I would guess.
exactly, more
Yeah.
awareness.
Yeah. So you had to go around to come back to with the level of knowing. Yeah, and same here. And
Yeah.
it's
But
okay.
what we've done is that we've picked up some beautiful awarenesses and
Yeah,
expansions along the way.
the clarity. That's another point to remind everyone is that there isn't a perfect path, and either you're on it or not. You're always on the path. The path is the expansion. It's the exploration. It's the journey. It's not that there's a destination that's predetermined, because the determination that we come in is that we're going to have an emotional journey and we're going to explore some themes, but
Yeah.
it's not laid out at all. There is no predestiny because we're deciding in each now moment where we want to go. I think it's sort of like jumping into the river and then just swimming and seeing where you can go. Right? You can go anywhere. It's just you following your guidance when you're in the river, but there isn't a
Yes.
specific direction you need to go. It's just like, well, what's
Yes.
interesting? What's lighting up for me now? What do I have to? Where are the crocodiles I got to keep away from?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And I kind of think, just going back to what you were saying, it all starts within.
And do you think that you found that within part when you're on your when your channeling journey began, or did you always have that feeling there, that knowing? How did that
Um,
unfold?
and not the knowing of channeling, but I think what we misinterpret as I followed my intuition a lot. So I guess, was that your guides talking? Or is that just that soul's desire of knowing to go this way? And so I guess I
Yeah,
had my
whatever.
intuition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that guided you. Intuition. I like to believe that the intuition is when we have the valve opened, and it doesn't mean that we were trying
Mm,
to channel. Maybe we just were having a good feeling day. Something happened, and the good feeling itself tells us we're in that aligned state. That's a good point to just mention to people that it's all about how something feels. We kind of talk naturally about it. Does it feel good? We'll do it. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. That's the guidance system. When it feels good, it feels good because the channel is open. And you know what? Just a little worthless fact that I want to share is that
Do
that
it.
information. Yeah, thank you. The guidance itself, the non-physical, multidimensional consciousness comes through, as most people I think know who do this, the third eye, which is the pineal gland. And it is the multidimensional connection. The heart space tells us if our brain is lined up with that or not. If we're thinking negative
Mm,
thoughts, we're not in alignment. When we are, then we line up with that. And then source can flow into the brain and we have the perception of it. That's where intuition comes from. It always comes from the broader non physical consciousness. But what I learned a while ago, and finally, like I put the pieces together. The first was that the pineal gland, from the medical community standpoint, they see it as being the place that generates oxytocin and endorphins. Now, why is that the case? It's because when you've opened up the channel, it makes you feel good. It floods your
oh,
body with endorphins. It's the guidance
yes.
system saying, do this more.
Yes. So, and that's why our body's so clever.
It's brilliant. So that's why you can trust that when you're feeling good, you're channeling, you're streaming intuition, you're streaming guidance, you have clarity, everything works out. You're on the same
I
pages.
love that.
Yeah. So you can really
I
trust
didn't
that if
know
it
that.
feels good. Yeah. Well, I only figured it out not that long ago. I
Yeah,
read something about the pineal. I mean, it doesn't matter how it works. I mean, but it's just kind of fun to know how much is on our side, how much this has been designed for everything to work out for us when we're here.
absolutely. Absolutely. And we're just touching a speck of it when you think about it.
Yes. Yes. Right. But think about how much there is to explore. That's what gets exciting then. Like there's just no end to it.
Exactly.
So I think we chatted about how we came together back then in April and how you got started channeling. Is there anything you want to share about things that listeners who are starting into channeling, or even people who have been doing it for a while, that roadblocks that you ran into and then found a way to overcome, either through our sessions or through whatever means
Yeah. What comes to mind is the comparison. I think that's a huge one
with other channels?
because, yeah, with other channels, um, because you buddy up and you see somebody else doing a message and channeling. Um, and I guess because there are so much out there that want to help us and support us, they come from so many different parts of energy and vibration. You, like I said, with for me, Albatron came months after, and I know that when I had an energy that two, but one was more supportive and one was more Magdalene. But what I was doing was comparing. Well, how come somebody's bringing uh Palladians, how do I talk about, they're talking about the galaxy and the stars, and I don't know anything about it. Do I trust my gut? Do you know what I mean? Like, I
Mm.
kind of felt for a while I was comparing um, different channelers bringing in different energies. And because I didn't have a name, because I didn't have, you know, anything that I thought was enough of a message for people to listen or
Yeah, something unique to you
relate
that
to.
you felt there was value in. Yeah. And so how did
Yeah.
you get over that or work through it?
I got over it by just allowing my guides to support me. I really trusted. Oh, look, they're tingly. um, it was just allowing that whatever guide was for me. And I don't even know how I just kept doing it. I kind of thought, I think it was a lot of talking from you and a lot of listening to, Sarah Landon's community as well. I have a very supportive community, but more trusting in that I'm here for my own purpose and the messages are for here for certain people that resonate with my energy, with my guides.
Mm. That so there's a big distinction there. So letting go of the need to compare, which we seem to be brought up around a lot, families and school, always being compared with other people. So it's
Mm,
natural for that to happen. But the channeling, the best channeling, as we were saying, happens when we're just in alignment with ourselves. So what I remember is and kind of what you're saying is that we learned that when we learned that we disconnect, but then when you start honoring yourself and trusting in the message, and validation is big. This is something that I want to share with those listening as well. This one of the biggest things that comes up early on in the channeling experience when somebody first opens up the channel is, how do I know it's not just me making stuff up or
yeah,
regurgitating something I've heard from somewhere else?
yeah.
Yeah, and so you were kind of saying that earlier, that it's kind of the same thing. But then over time, didn't you get? I think you went through a point where you just trusted and did it anyway with people,
I
and
did.
then got the validation back from them.
I absolutely. And you know what I also had learnt was when I would have a message for someone, even for myself or somebody else, and then I'd hear the same message after from another channeler, and it was the common thread. Now, whether the universe is doing a common thread for everyone because it needs to be heard, I kind of think that wherever it is, the energy, the vibration source are all have the same message. They're not any different. Some channelers not saying anything different to us because everything's underlying, but we just channelers have their own expression of the message that
Yes,
is
right.
common. I hope
Yes.
that makes sense.
Well, and to expand on what you're saying, then is there are many subtle elements of the messages. Your source energy. You can't get it wrong. It's never done. You're eternal. Kind of the basics. But the guidance, as you said, will be specific for not only the channel based on what you want to send through, what feels in resonance with what the messages that you want to send through, but also what resonates then with the people who are asking the question through you from
Mm,
source. So it's sort of like this cooperative, as long as we're all on the same frequency, being in source is always, but when we're being honest with ourselves and true and in alignment, and the client shows up, then the stream can flow. And then the brain doesn't have to adjust it or do anything.
that's right. Exactly. Exactly.
Trust it.
And
And go ahead.
no, you go. Go, Kevin.
So I was just going to ask then, so then by just doing it and getting that good feeling, knowing that the good feeling was enough, and then the feedback, would you say that's how your trust developed in being able to open up and do it more with people?
Definitely. What was so good to hear was not for me, but sorry, yes, for me, because it validated that the message that was being received was exactly what they needed to hear. And there is no way you can make up that kind of the words, the way it was put, and the validation for me. And I think humanly, you need to have that validation
At least to start.
to follow the
Absolutely.
path. Yeah,
Absolutely.
and it's not a wrong if people think, "Oh, no, I'll just" you don't need that's human, that's yes, it is, but that's why we are here is because we wanna play the game of being a human, playing the emotions, and also living a sense of the energy that's coming through to support,
The
if that's
blended,
what you meant to do.
yeah, the blended being. Yes. And then so as an evolution then, where I think you've mostly gotten to, if not completely, is then you love the energy, the feeling of doing it so much that it wouldn't matter what their
So much.
experience was. You would just, because you're doing it because you're supposed to do it, because it's what you're here, it's what you're wired for, it's what you're in alignment with. And why wouldn't you do things that felt that good? Right? Getting to that point,
Abs
and then it doesn't matter, you don't worry about their validation anymore because because you're in alignment. And this is where I got with coaching. So it's kind of a similar path. I do it because I absolutely love the process. It's so much I have to work with, and it forces me to get into this state. And now I do because I really love doing it. Before it was more of a chore, but now It's like well, I can't imagine doing anything else rather than what I'm doing with wonderful people like you because it just feels good. Wouldn't it be great if the world just said, I'm just going to do what feels good to me and then trust that the universe will orchestrate all the pieces together so everybody gets what they want? That's where
Yes,
we're headed.
absolutely. I think ultimately that's what they want, is to feel the joy in whatever you do, whether it's accounting.
Could be. I
Yeah,
was a
yeah, could
computer guy for
be.
a long time. For decades, I was
That's right.
writing software and working in computer systems and stuff. And I
But
enjoyed
that's
that.
what you loved it. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's what you loved at that moment.
That moment.
I
Yeah.
agree. I absolutely love the channeling. I come out of it. I feel so good. I feel so much love. I feel supported. I feel energized. I mean, I have channeled sometimes for over an hour and I'm not tired, because
With me, clearly.
some yeah, that's right. Exactly. Exactly. And but depending what used to happen for me was depending on the energy. I wasn't really my body wasn't really keeping up with the energy. So I'd feel a little when I first came, that's another thing that I'll mention. When they first came, I couldn't calibrate, my body couldn't calibrate, and I felt so nauseous. Like I felt really quite ill, like sick. And then that went, and then boom, they came down. And I still feel that with Albatron. Um, but the other energies, they just come in. Yeah.
And so that brings up another uh, point of the evolution that happens so often. And we watched it when we were in the Lightwork Exchange call last night or yesterday for you, when one of the members was starting to feel this tingling energy all over her body when you went into channeling state. And so there's that when we release things, we surrender, let go, turn the brain off, the vibration raises. And sometimes it can raise very quickly when a big chunk just like we don't need that anymore. Like we have overcome something, let it go. But the body, as you say, is it's physical dense material. And it takes time to let go of the toxins it was holding on to. It takes time to readjust to the new
Mm.
frequency. And in the gap, all sorts of bodily experiences can happen. Some people do get dry heaves, they get nauseous, or they sweat profusely, or they get sometimes uncomfortable tingles or even pain. And like I've had a number of clients who have had just like this dense pain in the head because of third eye is opening up and they feel it locally.
Mm.
But it doesn't take long, sometimes a few days of just on and off practice or however long it takes for you. And then the body catches up with that vibration. And now you can do it in that next beautiful opening level. And then it's just bliss until you go to the next level, like you are with Albatron, because Albatron is a
Mm.
much more powerful energy, higher frequency, undoubtedly. And so now you're doing that. You're in that gap a little bit at least.
Yes. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Doesn't come as off. Yeah, absolutely. And I thought he was I thought it was, oh, he's just indicating to me that he was here, but no, but bit of both. And to lead on to that. So before that, before Albatron came on, uh, when I first knew that energy source was coming through, my lip used to quiver and it's not as bad now, but it still does quiver, and my mouth would go really um contort, when you've gone to the dentist and they put their
They
finger
numb it.
around your
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah. Oh, not numb it, but they'd put their finger over your teeth that your lips would,
Oh, so it
you
kind of
know
stick out or something.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so, oh, my face would go crazy, and so I was very embarrassed for a long time to do any kind of recording because of my facial expressions would change. And still, even I still have the swaying when they're in and out. And sometimes I do have Albatron, especially still contorts a little bit the face, but that's their energy. That's also an indication that they're here with me, and um, I'm allowing them to use my body as the vessel of whatever way they need to communicate with the receiver.
There's the word allow. You surrender to the flow of energy and trust
Mm.
that everything is going to work out perfectly. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly. Exactly.
That
Well,
was
I
that.
think you said what sorry.
No, go ahead. What did you say?
Well, you said one of your channelers does a lot of like takes 3 minutes or 5
Yeah,
minutes
yeah.
to get
He doesn't. He's not somebody who's ever worked with me. He's just somebody that I've gone to for channeling when I first got into the
Ah,
channeling area. His name is Daniel Scranton, and he's pretty well known. He does channeling every single day, and he has been for years. Puts them up on YouTube and Facebook and so forth. And he's really good. But he's his process is he's got to drop in, and then he starts mouthing tones and sounds and words, and his arms go up, and he starts moving around, and that is what gets him into the state. And he says that is the moment he drops in that the first couple of seconds, he says they're the ones who are doing everything, and obviously, it's a co-creation. He needs that. That's his process of getting totally
mm,
into that deep state. And the different beings that come in have different sounds and different movements. They're all different. Some are high pitched, some are low pitched, some make sound clicking sounds. So it's a beautiful to see. It's sort of the precursor of the energy that's about to flow through.
mm,
So it can
mm.
be again, the as you're saying, it's the importance is to find what feels the best and just surrender to it and trust that source is going to do everything to create a positive outcome, positive experience.
Yes, absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
sure
Yes.
we'll get some questions about that.
Well, good, good. So whoever's listening to this, that is one of the things we will undoubtedly open up to at some point. Will be some open Q&A, and probably live. We're not planning any of this other than that we're going to do it. We're being very intentional um, to trust ourselves, practice trusting, and just opening the door each time we do one of these podcasts, and trust that the conversation will go where it needs to go. And then if there are questions from either write in or if we do them live, then that will be the natural unfold. And that's always
Yes,
when I learned how to do that in the meetings and in the coaching sessions, so much freedom opens up, and so much more benefit comes both to us, for instance, in this situation, and then the clients or the people who are listening. And we have the best co-creation, and that's what I'm all about.
exactly.
So
Wonderful.
last question for you: are you feeling anybody who wants to add to anything we've said, or any of your guides or anybody, or
Yeah,
are
yeah.
you feeling okay?
I feel good. They've been here the whole time and they've been very eager. So I guess you've just watched me how I do it. And the energy here is amazing, is contagious. We say the word contagious because it will ripple out into a stream of other unconsciousness, other channelers that are awakening, an understanding of perhaps what they are going through, what they are feeling. And the audience is the energy of what is out there. You are all beings of creations, creating your own creations, as these two have. So we say to you, dear ones, dear loving white soul, and to this one, there is much more to learn in the world of the highest vibration. The main focal point of this, of why we have pushed for this to happen, is because of the awakening that will be happening in the years to come. Your planet, your world is in need of this. We have said this to not only to the white soul, but we have said it to others. It is now time to see a different perspective. We enjoy the question from you, dear white soul.
The question. Should have prepared one.
There is no preparation needed, dear
Yes,
one. Go with the flow.
what is the biggest question that is being asked right now that we will be able to help answer?
The biggest question is the trust. What your human brain is an expansion of so much knowledge, so much of the memories from the lifetime of this lifetime that you lead, the living lifetime, from lifetimes previous. There is not only memories, it is the knowledge you're continually growing, that you're feeding your brain constantly. But what is forgotten is the unconscious mind that leads to your truest path, that leads you to your truest soul's desire. And because of all the busyness in the brain, you forget the most important thing is to have space and trust what the feeling is of the intuition of the higher consciousness, and disassociate. We smile because the white soul understands this. We disassociate what is the busy knowledge, what is the busy brain, the human thinking, and has an understanding to open up to the unconscious mind, to follow the path of least resistance, to follow the path that is choiceless. But still understanding that your brain capacity and your knowledge works in unison with that. Does this make sense?
Yes, the blended being.
You are a blended being. But what happens is you lose and forget. There is also the unconsciousness that knows what your truest soul's desire wishes to feel and learn, and looks at the best for you, for your living human soul. So even though you have these amazing memories and amazing knowledge, it is just an understanding of how they can flow and work together so that you are still being the perfect, free-flowing, unconditional love that you are. Does this make sense?
Yes. So the ebb and flow between the contrast where we're more in the brain and then back to the connection, that is the journey. And
That is,
and there's no right place to be on it.
there is no right place. There is no wrong place. There is only the place of being and experiencing, and knowing that when you are experiencing your truest desire, it brings you joy, it brings you happiness, it brings you excitement. And this is what we are wanting and supporting more of in your world, is to feel that freedom, what it can bring to you when you are truly aligned and in balance, that it gives you the joy, it gives you the clarity to not only give to yourself more kindness, more love, but to be the example to others And when that touches others, they follow on to others. Then they expand on that to their children, to their friends, to other family members, to their colleagues, to everyone that is associated with that person that is in alignment.
And that is a natural byproduct of doing the work for ourselves, putting ourselves first, as it were.
You need to, dear one, to put yourself first. It is like the mask on a plane. You have to give yourself the oxygen to be the survivor so that you can help not only your child, but for others. You need to be the awakened one first to draw onto others' awakenings, to help and support, to guide and to coach, to give love, to be the eyes and ears for someone else. Does this make sense?
Would the word selfish, people get stuck on because they don't understand this process? Is there a way to soften that concept of?
Mm, there is the selfishness, but the selfishness can be misinterpreted because of the negative connotations it has already by other people's actions. So they compare. They don't want to be seen as selfish in a good, in a productive, positive way. Does this make sense? Let us
Yes.
clear this up first. And then using the selfishness from others that are doing it in a negative way, that is the comparison. That is why they do not want to use the word selfish. But being selfish in a positive way is internalizing, is taking yourself away, being in a corner, having time for yourself is not selfish. It is being in the stillness. It is being in the moment of presence of your unconscious soul. You reuniting, gathering yourself. That is selfish. But when they say this, it brings that trigger of the selfishness that is over here that has a negative connotation to it. Does this make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Of someone that is using it in what you say, not sharing, not giving, being selfish, not wanting to share their gifts, not wanting to share anything. And we say to you in your words, narcissism has the connotation in the selfishness as well.
Yeah.
But when we say those words, they are not negative words. These words that you have labeled is an energy, is a learning that they need to understand. They're on a whole different journey. They're on their own journey that may take a very long time, but it is not up to you. What we say to you is try not to use or feel the energy when you are using the same one word. Does
Mm.
this make sense?
Yes. Right. Right. It's about scripting the word in a way that what it really means, which is taking care of self, helping self.
What it means for you. What does selfishness or being selfish mean for you? If it means that you want to take yourself and meditate for an hour, is it a good outcome? Is the energy good? Then be selfish.
Mm. Wow, that was beautiful. I could feel the calling of that question needing to be answered. So glad it came through. Is there more that you want to share with the group, or are we complete for this call?
There is much more and much more fun and excitement, but we shall continue this at our next interaction. We
Or,
love you. We love you. We love you.
yeah. Wow. I've had hundreds of channeling sessions, and I never get tired of it. It's just it's just always so incredible. The energy is so beautiful. I could feel the calling of the collective, those who are going to come across this material at some point. Uh, and it's all now, so there is no future. So everybody who's ever going to connect with us was asking that question, and boy, did they deliver some beautiful energy. Whew. Well, so yeah, we can go on for hours, but we got to save something for next time.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly.
that was incredible. Great demonstration and great message for the onlookers, the watch people who will be watching this. So to wrap up, is there anything else you wanted to share, or are you feeling
No,
complete?
I'm feeling complete and excited.
Too. So for those of you, if you want to reach out to us at any point, Magdalena's site is magdalenalyle.com. Mine is intuitivecoachkevin.com. And we're both also on Facebook under those same names, and probably Instagram and everywhere else eventually. But that's kind of where we're starting. So reach out anytime. If you have questions, please let us know. We can add them to the future list of Q&A when we do the next podcast. And please feel free to share this video or this information with anybody that you feel it might resonate with. Because as the guide said, we're here to be it and then share it. And then the trickle down effect, as they call it, then permeates society and all of the planet eventually. And so how fun is it to be on the leading edge of that? Like, it just doesn't get better, at least
It
until it
doesn't,
does.
and I'm loving.
Yes. All right,
Thank
we'll
you
wrap up
so
for
much.
today. Yeah, thanks, Magdalena, and we'll see everybody next time. Take care.